I've been involved in community development probably since the mid-70s. I think the core values are, looking after the local people, supporting the local people.
Yeah.
I think there's a variety of main purposes. I think the core purpose is working with local people to develop them as individuals.
Okay.
And to support them as individuals. And that could be around health, it could be around well-being, it could be financially, and we go out and we have this discussion. But because it's us, because it's in the community language, because it feels safe, then we can start those conversations. We can have those conversations in safe territory, and then we can support the people through some of the issues that then come out of them. The Sparkbrook was always a poorer area at that period of time.
Welcome everybody to the next episode of the ACP Podcast. Today we have another great guest with us. We have Ted Ryan, Project Director at ACP. Great to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, how you been?
Fine at the moment, yes.
Been okay?
Yeah.
Do you want to start by telling everyone a bit about what you do at ACP?
Well, I'm currently Project Director of the Prosperous Futures Programme, but I also oversee the advice and the carers programme within the organisation, and I'm also have a responsibility for the business planning and future planning of the organisation. And it's like having because I've been here 18 months. It's like having that outside look and view and everything like that on activities and development.
Okay, and how did you first come to know about ACP? What was your sort of perception about them?
Well, whilst I've been here and involved for about 18 months, I first worked with ACP in about 2013, 2014, when I was brought in to support them in one of their applications for funding. And they got a huge report, which is about 70 pages. And I changed that into a sort of like a 17-page report, rest page of evidence, and a whole host of appendices and stuff. And from that, they then asked me to write and develop the 2014-2020 business plan. Which they then went out and acted on and developed some of the programs that are currently running at the moment and stuff.
Okay, well, was there any particular aspect of ACP that kind of appealed you to want to work over here?
No, well, it's I live in Balsall Heath, so it's not local. It's part of Sparkbrook, so it's not really local to me because it's sort of you have to cross the Stratford Road and the Stony and Stony Lane to get here, which is always barriers within this area. But it was, it was a local organisation. One of the things that we discovered when I was doing the business planning was that I think it was over 50% of the staff had started here as volunteers, and sort of had a buy-in to the organisation. And about 75% of the staff at that point sort of lived locally as well. So that that was nice.
That's what motivated you.
Yeah.
Is there anything that in particular that inspires you to kind of do community work and do work at an organisation that does such great work in the community?
I've been involved in community development probably since the mid-70s.
Okay. Long time.
I started as a youth worker in 1975, and then when I came to Birmingham as a teacher, I still worked within youth clubs.
What did you used to teach?
I taught design and technology.
Okay, nice.
And art. But in 1982, having had enough of teaching, I went and worked in the neighbourhood offices in Walsall. And that was part of a sort of community development role, whilst it was also part of a domiciliary care role and running a couple of services within neighbourhoods and localities. It was also engaged in the community in activity. So I've done a lot of community work. Not necessarily in this area. So
Yeah.
when I was approached by them, it was nice to have something local. It's nice to be able to walk to work,
Yeah.
you know, because my previous community activity was out in Northfield and the southwest part of
Okay,
Birmingham.
it's a bit of a commute for you then.
Yeah, it was a bit of a commute. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, it depends on the schools, and you know, it's between 20 and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
But he was always coming home at night then. Whereas with this one,
Yeah.
it's almost on your doorstep, and
Mm.
you know the areas, you know the people, and you get involved with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, nice. And just talking a bit about ACP, what would you say the kind of core values are of the organization from your point of view?
I think the core values are, you know, looking after the local people, supporting the local people.
Yeah.
I think it's a matter of local people providing support.
Yeah.
And again, it comes back down to you know, the number of volunteers that we get. And COVID's had an impact on that, but now that we're sort of getting over it, the number of volunteers that we've got coming in, and people then start trusting a building and a venue and a door to cross when they know that there's people there who are local and understand them, and you know, can speak their language. You know, it's no good me being on the front line in this place. You know, but the staff that we have here, you know, it's
able to communicate with them.
Yeah, they can communicate. We have staff that speak probably, you know, we have probably about 10 languages within the organization. So from that point of view, that just makes them at ease. We can talk to them. They can communicate with us and explain the problem, and then we can actually try and resolve it. You know, so that's I think is, for me, is very, very important.
Okay, nice. And what would you say the main purpose of the organization would be?
I think there's a variety of main purposes. I think the core purpose is working with local people to develop them as individuals.
Okay.
And to support them as individuals. And that could be around health, it could be around well-being, it could be financially. In the past, it's been economically, because we've done training, we've supported people into employment. Current programs are looking at providing training for people who have low skills in poor paid jobs, and how do we support them in trying to make them slightly better off and give them a better qualification. But we also have the well-being program, which provides bits of exercise, bits of well-being. You know, exploring things around you know, menopause, and issues sometimes with that the community doesn't talk about. You know, and we go out and we have this discussion, but because it's us, because it's in the community language, because it feels safe, then we can start those conversations. We can have those conversations in safe territory, and then we can support the people through some of the issues that then come out of them.
Okay, nice. And why do you think Sparkbrook in particular is a community that is important to give back to?
Because I live here. I live here, and I shop. You know,
it's quite close to your heart.
Yeah. You know, I shop on Stony Lane. I shop in Aldi's on the Stratford Road. I shop in Lidl's. In Balsall Heath. You know, I go and have a cup of coffee in Moseley sometimes, because you can't get a decent cup of coffee at the moment.
Venture out to Moseley a little bit.
Around you, but those shops are coming, and it's changing. You know, it is changing from a sort of restaurant and eating point of view. But you know, the local shops have as much as I need. So as I said, it's nice to be able to walk to work. Yeah,
exactly. Have you noticed the area's changed a lot since you started living around here?
The area's changed significantly, because I've been here like 25, 30
So how was it when you first started coming here?
Well, there was a lot more variety within some of the shops. The Balti belt was almost was moving into its height at that period of time, and I think one of the issues around that time was there are a lot more what I would call tourists coming into the areas that have that sort of ethnic experience. I think the major change in some of the areas is that because of part of the economic growth of some of the community.
Yeah.
Then a lot of those fast food places, lots of those restaurants, and have changed from Balti to steak bars, but they're halal bars. There's a lot more younger Asians coming out. They got the dessert shops.
Yeah.
So the nighttime economy has changed
Yeah.
drastically within this place.
Yeah.
And there's a lot less of the tourists from a shop and greengrocery point of view. There's less of them, but the quality is still there, and there's the food is still there. That if you want to go and get it, you go and get it. The other thing that I think has probably changed, which doesn't really affect me, is that there are a number of good high quality clothing shops.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Especially down the bottom end of the Ladypool Road.
Yeah.
Which have happened probably in the last 5 or 6 years. And I know people are now coming from quite a way to buy.
They are, yeah.
Within this area. So, I think people still see it as the Balti belt, but the economy is far more diverse. And I actually think you've got Turkish restaurants, you've got Lebanese restaurants.
It's a good variety.
You've even got an Asian, Chinese takeaway and stuff like that.
You've got everything here.
And sometimes you've still got the best fish and chips. And on Ladypool Road and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And the tea shops are opening.
And
and
they're always doing well as well.
They are doing well. So it has changed significantly, but it's as I said, it's less of that touristy area, but it is more for local people and younger people.
Yeah. No, it's true. You come out for a dinner or in the evening or something. You see a lot of youngsters. You see families as well. So it's a good variety.
Yeah.
All over Birmingham, people are coming from as well.
And even though they may only live 15, 20, 100 yards away, they still drive there.
Yeah.
Which causes issues with the cars and stuff like that. But it's and Eid nights.
It's massive over here.
Yeah, just don't even try walking down or driving down the Ladypool Road. Because it's great to be in the middle of it, unless you live around there. Because you got the cars, the horns. But it's one night a year. It's a great place to be at that period of time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and just talking about the people of the area, what would you say the biggest kind of challenges they face on a day-to-day basis? People of Sparkbrook face.
Oh, that's a good one.
Is there any recurring issues you come across working over here?
I think over the years, because I've worked within the city council around economic development. I said out in Northfield, but I did work with colleagues within this area. And Sparkbrook was always a poorer area at that period of time. I do know that as like the Irish, because when the Irish first came to Sparkbrook, they've moved down the A34 and into Hall Green and into Shirley. And I know some of the Asians who moved in here, in the 50s and 60s, they've begun to move down. But Sparkbrook still has an element of poverty. Now it may not be the same poverty as it was 25 years ago, but that element is still there. And I think it's not just that poverty of money. I think there's a poverty of aspirations. I think there's issues around, whilst the schools are achieving more, what are the families expecting of their children?
Yeah, it's a whole holistic approach.
Yeah, and also there's the sort of poverty of, and I don't know how you describe it, how you look after yourself from a health perspective.
Yeah.
Because we still have the health issues. In here. But for me, it's communities that aren't listened to. People work with Ashiana, but in some way, there's always a bit of me that thinks professional and people in the statutory sector, make decisions, and we'll run a health program for this, we'll run a health program for that, because this is the data that we've looked at, and these are the issues that we've got. They don't come and talk to us, and when we could talk to people about how you resolve those issues, they just look and say, oh, there's an obesity problem. Well, I don't know what we'll do, but we'll do something, and we'll put health visitors in for it. And some of those health visitors come from other areas, and there isn't that buy-in into this area. And I think what saddens me is that, we need to start having that dialogue about how organisations like this can work with individuals, can work with the statutory sector. We should be the first point of call for those people to have those conversations, and then we go to the statutory sector, say, this is how you resolve it. Can you fund that? Make the first step, come and say, I'm interested in doing this, that. There's always a way of getting involved in something that you're interested in. I think it's leading stuff like that. I think it's going back to its core work of providing support to people. People who end up in crisis, whether it be through money, or whether they've got issues with housing, or whether they've got issues with bills and stuff like that, don't want to get involved in anything. That's all they're focusing on. But once you've sorted that out for them, and once you've settled them down, and they know it's a nice place to come, we need to be offering them something else. Just go, well, what am I going to do now? Whereas basically, one issue results in a solution, but it also creates another problem.